Well, now, everybody, I am your host, Lambo Drew, and you are now tuning into another edition of The Leverage Show. But today, you already know every time our special guest, Tracy Taris, comes in the building, you already know it literally becomes Therapy Thursdays with Tracy Taris. I'm telling you what, you guys do not want to miss this. Listen, it has been definitely a great long day for Lambo. For those who know and you guys have figured it out, it's like, Lambo, we've been trying to get in contact with you. We've been actually trying to reach out and all of this great stuff. East Den is in full effect, you guys. So I'm trying to tell y'all this right now. I've been telling y'all about East Den, man, each and every single year. That is the largest crypto conference that's here in Denver, Colorado. All roads lead to Denver, Colorado, man, each and every single year. So you guys definitely want to make sure that this is on your list. And you guys are definitely able to come on out, man. Come see us, man, out in Denver, Colorado. Lambo gets a chance to entertain all day long and all night long. So, again, that's why Lambo goes on ahead continuously to be in front of this camera when I possibly can, but to give you guys the best and dopest interviews, audience, and so much value that you can definitely go on ahead, man, and take value for. So I'm excited. I'll be tied up with that again all this weekend. Excited about that. But got a chance today to at least, tap a few shoulders, which is good. But we got more shoulders to definitely tap and more great people to meet. So you definitely don't want to miss this. Make sure you guys are sharing this link out because the infamous Tracy Taris is in the building, man. And we all love when she comes on the Leverage Show and literally transform this time for the time with having talks with Tracy. And we truly appreciate everything that she has been to us and she has been to your lives, your families, your communities, and everything else that is definitely tied to you. Let's see who's in the chats first to definitely go on ahead, man, and tap in before we bring on. Blue Sky is in the building. Shout out to you, Blue Sky. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Healthy, happy, healed. Let's go. You already know what time it is. Blue Sky says clear communication, healthy boundaries, fulfilled lives. That's what we love. Truly appreciate you. Constructive, consistent conversation. Let's go. Love it on that. You know what time it is. My guy, Murph. Murph, you're one of the guys I got to get a hold of, man. Queen Johnson, I see Blue Sky. Let's go. Fully shout out to my guy, C.A. Murph. You know he's out there killing it in the building, doing what he does best. Always showing love. What's up, Leverage Show family? We out here getting it grinding today, man, out here. Appreciate you, Murph. Let's rock and roll. Blue Sky says, my dear friends, you should be quick to listen and slow to speak or to get angry. Yes. Love, love, love that, man. I truly appreciate you for putting that scripture up, man. That's exactly what this show is about. Showing love to Murph, man. I love it, love it, love it, man. Love Blue Sky in the building, man, doing what you do. Money's in the building. Good to see you, Money, man. Blue Sky showing love. Peace, Murph. Hope all is well, man. Money showing love to Blue Sky. Love it, love it, love it. Blue Sky showing love to Money. Love it. Money showing love to Murph. Shout out to you. Blue Sky showing love to Mrs. Johnson. Shout out to you. My baby is in the building. Hello, family, showing love with the wonderful heart eyes. You already know what she does, man, each and every single time she pops on. Listen, we do not want to waste any time with our guests. We truly, really want to thank you for definitely tapping in and definitely going on ahead and bringing the energy you guys bring on the show. This means so much to Lambo. Like literally, it means everything to Lambo. Every time Miss Tracy Taris comes on the show and allows us to be blessed by her wonderful wisdom, her wonderful guidance, her wonderful strategies that she's able to use, and to be able to do some amazing things. I'm telling you what, I literally got in, sat down in this seat, and literally, man, began to, and look at this right here. I opened up my email and Miss Tracy had all of this great things in here. But before I got to her email, when I was at my desk, I got to this couple right here, Julie and Jeremiah Crafton. Hello, Leverage family. They gave me one of the biggest, I think the two biggest emails I got today came from Tracy Taris and Team Crafton. Hands down, that blessed me, man, like minutes before this show. Again, it has been amazing. And as much running as we're doing, as much great things as we're doing to get these emails, blesses us. Shout out to you, Team Crafted. Thank you for definitely joining on board. And they know what time it is. It's getting ready to go in. And I'm excited about them and excited for everything that they do. Truly appreciate you guys and love everything you guys are doing. Murph is showing love, saying money is in the building with the money bag. Loving to see that. But tonight, every time we get a chance to allow Miss Tracy to bless us, she always leaves us, man, way more better than where we were left off before. She gets a chance to make it here each and every other month to this leverage show. But she always leaves like this residue, similar to how Jesus would leave the residue as he would actually go from place to place and then leave the residue, and then boom, their lives would change. That is who Miss Tracy Taris is to the Leverage Show. Without further ado, everybody on the Leverage Show, please welcome our guest for tonight, the wonderful Miss Tracy Taris. Welcome to the Leverage Show, Trace.
Hi, Lambo. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. You get the bell. The Lambo bell man is in the building. You already know what time it is. Thank you for actually coming to this Leverage Show. I mean, this is technically the new year because we haven't seen you since December on the Leverage Show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, snap. We want to hear about it. How's your new year starting off, Miss Tracy?
It's wonderful. Yeah. I'm going a little bit slower than I normally do at the beginning of the year. Just taking things easy. And I think it helps me to be more organized and more singularly focused. So it's going well.
I love that. We all love that, especially when you're focused out here. The more focused, Tracy, the more information you're able to give to us and help bless and change our lives. So when we last left off in December, you were talking about a new product that may be on the rise. Has that started yet, or are we still in the makings of that?
We're still in the makings of it. Time before last, I talked about creating an audiobook for my book, and I'm still working on that. But I thought I should create a journal. And one of the reasons is because I see on TikTok that there's this shadow journal. And I thought, what a great idea. Why don't I write a journal for my book? Because my book has a lot of different exercises and interventions that people can use to apply what the book is talking about. And so I thought, it probably would, because some of the books that I've read, when they've had a journal, they actually help you to take some of the material in the book deeper. So I'm working on that now. That one has surpassed the audiobook. That one's almost finished. It actually, the first draft is finished. I'm actually just working on, editing it and tightening it up and making sure that the questions are thought-provoking and deep so that people can really take it deeper.
Hey, well, we want you to go ahead and definitely take your time with that project. We're excited about that. Especially when that comes out, we know it's going to help so many. So we really want to definitely take that journey with you as well into that new project to very help us out, especially being out here, with all the help that we need. I'm just keeping 100 with you guys. We need some help. So shout out to you for that. Well, listen, Tracy, tonight we really want to go ahead and deep dive in. And each and every single time, man, you come to the show, we always have some amazing talks, amazing conversations. But we really want to deep dive in, man, to, my wife here in this Central. Shout out to y'all. I see y'all in the building. They're showing love to you, Miss Tracy. We want to deep dive into loneliness. And I told you one of my favorite songs is Bobby Vinton, Mr. Lonely, right? I play that song. I'm not lying to you. I play that song a lot, Bobby Vinton, Mr. Lonely, right? But it's a good thing. It's not that I'm lonely. I love Bobby Vinton, Mr. Lonely. And the way he hits those notes and the way I say, man, he is in the building with this loneliness, man. So we want to deep dive into that tonight, Tracy. And I really want you to go ahead and take us on a journey that somebody may be out there, man, dealing with loneliness. And especially what these new reports have shown in the San Francisco Bay Area, that it is on a rise. And it's definitely something that needs to be dealt with. Tonight, take us on a journey and let us know on how we can go on ahead and navigate around that loneliness.
Well, yeah, a lot of people blame the loneliness on the pandemic, but it was actually starting before that. It probably started picking up a lot when social media, like all of the different platforms, because there's a sense of connection, but it's not really real, And so in California, in Northern California, in the Bay Area, like you mentioned, they've declared it an epidemic. And so
Mm.
that's one little county here in California. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's an epidemic all over the country. It's just that in Silicon Valley, they're recognizing it. And look at it, it's Silicon Valley. That's where
Yeah.
all the tech, or most of the tech is coming out of. So I don't know if they're the first ones to recognize it or to recognize it publicly, but someone up there is calling for a job position called the Minister of
Mm.
Loneliness. You know how we have a Minister of Defense?
Yeah.
They want to create a position for someone. So I mean, if any of your listeners out there are looking for an interesting job that's brand new, they could probably come and make it what they want. But it's I would imagine, I don't know what kind of person they would hire for it, but maybe a therapist or a psychologist, psychiatrist, but maybe, anyone in the social services arena would probably be a good candidate and have some ideas on how to combat this, you know?
I mean, it's. Can I be real with you? I mean, I really think, man, that when you hear this, it should be alarming, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Only because we don't think as a society. We have our phones and we have our devices and laptops. We're so connected, right? Even more technology wise, but there is still a setback of a disconnection of people really getting the value that they really do need. Let's talk about that loneliness. Do you think that there is a huge disconnect, right, with those who definitely seek attention or seek the approval of someone else to say, hey, I'm with you. You're not in this thing alone. And how does somebody actually get over that?
Well, I think because there are different kinds of attention, like you can get a lot of attention on social media, like via likes and posting things and having people engage with it, comment on it, but it's not the same as face-to-face
Mm.
attention. Like face-to-face attention, there's even this is better than, like just scrolling through and liking and commenting on a thing, because our brain has these neurons called mirroring neurons where they mirror each other. And
Mm.
so that's they allow us to empathize with one another and to feel what one another is feeling, but you can't really do that with the kind of attention you're getting from, I mean, you might get a little dopamine hit because 100 people liked your post or whatever, but it's not the same as being in a room talking with two or three people, or being at a party or some kind of social gathering. And I do want to circle back at some point to talk about, like, what are some of the things that we can do to, in our individual communities and in our individual lives to combat loneliness, because there are things that we used to do where loneliness wasn't necessarily a problem. And then
Yeah.
and I think that with some of those things we used to do, some of that maybe can be picked up
Yeah.
again so that we can start making more and more face to face, in the room, same room connection.
And I think that let me say this to you. There was a certain individual I got a chance to talk to today, right? We're at these conferences where there's thousands of people coming from all over the world to come here for this ETH conference, right? Here in Denver. It's the largest crypto conference here. What I noticed that I talked to a young lady who was maybe not even 19,
Mm-hmm.
and she spoke about her having a disconnect from having the popularity of people who literally turned their backs. And she's been soul searching to find herself with the right type of people. That is also a state of loneliness. Trying
Yeah.
to find the right people but getting stabbed in the back, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
How do the generations, because loneliness can come not just in older generations, because
Mhm.
people think that the kids They get up, they grow up, they move out, or there's a spouse or somebody, a partner relationship is gone and leaves them alone. How do even the youth deal with this sense of loneliness outside of the elderlies as well?
Most people aren't dealing with it very well at all, and you're right, it's in all of the different generations. I'll start with the elderly generation. It is, people get older, some of their mobility might decrease, so it prevents them from being able to get around and connect with people, so they're staying home more. Sometimes their children move away, so they don't really get to be around their grandchildren and the big family units. Like, when I grew up, we would go to grandma's for dinner on Sunday, and every holiday, everybody got together, and every birthday, and somebody graduated, somebody got pregnant, whatever the case may be. And people do still celebrate those things, but people aren't necessarily including their older people. And a lot of times it is related to health issues. It might be related to distance, and it might be related to mobility. Like if someone has to go and lift grandma into a wheelchair, and then get her there might be fewer people volunteering to do that. Loneliness has increased, I think, because of the change in work. Like a lot of people are working remote now.
Yeah,
There's no longer that, let's get together in a break room or stand by the water cooler and talk and everything like that. A lot of people are remote. Like most people, some people who work remote do both, where they go into the office. But if you're not seeing these people every day, if you're seeing them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the likelihood of you connecting is greatly diminished than if you're going in 5 days a week. And I'm not advocating for people to go back into the office.
yeah,
I mean, if your employee gives you a choice, I think going into the office 2 days a week rather than being in front of your computer 5 days a week is probably better. But employers making um, conscientious efforts to bring people together. Like there used to be team building things. Most places I've worked in my life would have at least a once a year where we all go to the park and there's a picnic or some kind of barbecue or social gathering. I don't know if people are doing that still. I've been in private practice, I think for like 15 years now, but I haven't heard of any of my friends who, still work out in the workforce force doing that. And then young people, it's the same thing. Like their heads are buried in screens, and having friends in their ears with those headsets where they're playing video games with people in different countries. But all of that it's a sense of connection, but it's not real connection because you're not doing this. You're not seeing the person's eyes. You're not picking up on their energy. And so it could leave you kind of like if you only ate candy instead of, all of your fruit and vegetables and proteins and stuff like that. Like the candy will curb the hunger momentarily, but it's not really going to satiate anything. It's not really going to be satisfying. You're not going to get any nutrients, from that. And so I think a lot of times the connection that we call social connections today, it's just not real. It's not what has been in times before. And can we go back to that? Absolutely. It has to be like a conscientious effort.
yeah. And I think that is the effort most people are not trying to take, though, Tracy. They're not
Or
trying to
not?
take the content. No, I honestly think because advancement that we have actually done when it comes to technology advancement, to
Mhm.
all of these things that we can do on the fly, and it's more like a popcorn type of social chatting that we do,
Yeah.
and we're fine with that. We're fine with the distance. We're fine with this. We're fine with that. But as you see from the article stating earlier, there's now this rise in loneliness because we've all shifted from that, whether it was good or bad, intentionally or not. But COVID kind of actually put us all in that place. And some of us are in that bubble since COVID. We haven't popped that bubble yet, Tracy.
Yeah. A lot of people haven't. And one of the reasons for that, like when people come in for therapy and they're afraid to get out, and they're not necessarily like there's a disorder called agoraphobia, and it's when
Mhm.
people are afraid to leave their homes. I mean, it's just so much anxiety. And one of the reasons they're afraid is because before a person develops agoraphobia, they have panic attacks, like a
Mhm.
lot of panic attacks. And panic attacks can be very scary because one of the symptoms of panic attacks is you think you're going to die, and you're not going to die. And you don't really think that, but it's one of the symptoms. So you kind of think it, and it
Mhm.
can make you feel like, what if this or what if that. And so people start getting, when they start having those panic attacks back to back, they start going out less because they start being afraid that it's going to happen on the train, it's going to happen while they're driving, it's going to happen in the grocery store. And so they just start pulling back for fear of having the panic attacks. And so what happened with COVID is people aren't necessarily developing agoraphobia. Some people are, I'm sure, but there's also social anxiety. Like social anxiety has always been a little bit of a problem, but since COVID and people were away from people for so long in large groups of interactions, now they're having anxiety about it. And one of the hallmarks of social anxiety is being afraid of saying something dumb or being afraid of looking like stupid or something like that. And if this is the only way you're interacting with people, it can be daunting and anxiety provoking if you're thinking you're going to go to a meeting or something, or go out to church, or go into the office. So people are, developing social anxiety more and more for fear of interacting with other people, for fear of not presenting in the right way, or something like that.
Mm. So it's amazing that you even say that. My mind reflects back when you actually do say that of them actually going out, not presenting in the right way, and actually suffering from this, right?
Mhm.
I really do think that, and this is a true story, I really do think that has been the most promoted type of fear, right? That we've actually put inside of the TVs, we put inside of all of these other different mechanisms that we actually use to surf and everything else. They
Mhm.
place that inside and have put people like into this cocoon. That what if the inevitable does happen? Because now we're seeing more death totals rise when COVID happened. If you
Mhm.
remember, people were actually stuck in the house with their loved ones, their families, or people that they might have didn't like. And
Yeah.
divorce rates started going up and everything else because there was a sense of breakdown because we have been in that bubble,
Yeah.
suffering from that. It's called agophoria. Did I say it?
Agoraphobia? Yeah, that's the fear of going out, like going out of your house and you're staying inside. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of people have suffered because of that. And now we're seeing the backlash of that. We're
Mhm.
seeing these articles that are coming up that are talking about people actually having loneliness. And loneliness can actually also, and I know you know this more as well because this is your background, loneliness can actually happen in between families,
Oh,
relationships,
yeah.
partnerships, or whatever, because the communication has a breakdown.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
let's talk about that, those communication breakdowns that actually do cause people to get into that state of loneliness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some good signs that people can actually look out for people
Well,
heading to that loneliness?
you're right to look for signs because wherever we end up, we kind of journey there. Like nobody, actually just wake up one day and find that they can't communicate with their loved ones. But there are lots of marriages that although they live together and although they're working together to keep the family going, to keep the household running, there's a sense of loneliness. So it's a different kind of loneliness, like the other kind, the epidemic like loneliness is people actually being alone and not having other people, like they're starved and deprived of touch, like being around others. Whereas loneliness within a relationship, you can have the person around you and
Mhm.
still be deprived of touch if you're not, communicate or connecting in that way, or if the communication has gone downhill so much. And it's one of the things that I teach couples about communication is you have to take 100% responsibility for whatever is the problem. Like people think there's only 100%, but if it's two people, it's 200%. So each
Mm,
person, like if you look at it like that, the chances of arguing can go down depending on how you're viewing it, because most of the time when we argue, we're trying to get the other person to see our way as more right, or to agree that they're wrong, or at least agree that they're more wrong. And nobody's going to take 60% or 70% of an argument, unless they know that they're 100% wrong, they will. But it's like everything that we argue about is coming from different perspectives. Like
yeah.
people aren't just saying things and trying to be power, overpower people. It's the communication has broken down. You're not understanding me. I'm not understanding you. So one of the things that you can do is try to understand one person at a time and
Mm,
decide who's going to go first and fully present your view. But the person that's receiving the information has to really listen and not be formulating what's going on. Because if you continue to have communication difficulties, you'll start drifting apart. And a lot of people when people end up getting divorced, they felt lonely in the relationship for a long time, maybe even years, before anybody, ever files or even talks about filing for divorce.
mm. So now let's talk about that, even in that sense of loneliness, right?
Mhm.
Maybe do you think that there is times that people can put maybe their careers, their goals, or anything else in front of them, and then all of a sudden that loneliness of that not communicating between spouses, families, friends, loved ones plays a huge part in that because people can't understand the pressure that person is dealing with.
You mean like when someone is putting their career ahead of the relationship or ahead of the
Correct.
family and spending more
Correct.
time?
Correct.
Yeah, anything that you're going to build requires work.
Mhm.
So I would say communicate about that. Like if you're thinking of going to grad school, like the two of you sitting down and talking about, it's going to be 2 years or 3 years or whatever program you're in, whereby this is what my Saturdays are going to look like, or this is what my early mornings or, evenings are going to look like.
Yeah.
But, communicating that it's a season, like this is a season. At some point, I'm going to come out of this season and let's try to work together. So
Mhm.
continuously talking about what's going on. And even after you have that initial conversation, continuing to have check-ins. And,
Mhm.
if you're the one that's chasing something, if you're the one that's chasing a career, try to make accommodations for that. Like when I was in grad school, I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That was 2 hours before everybody else got up at 7. And then we all went, to school and work, or whatever the case was. And I would typically not do homework after work. And if I did, I wouldn't spend it more than an hour on it, but I would more like get up early in the morning. And then when I was done with grad school and I went out to work, I had a regular, 9 to 5 life. But then when I was studying for licensure, I just did the same thing where I would get up, a lot earlier than everyone else so that I could have some focused time. And that way it wasn't really impacting anybody.
Yeah.
It impacted them on Saturdays because Saturdays I would spend like 4 or 5 hours studying. But we had talked about that. Like we had talked about this is what this is going to look like, and stuff like that. And we were in constant communication with it. So it you're not like necessarily selfish if you want a career or a higher education or something like that, but communicating and being in constant communication and talking about what's going on. And if the person that's not going for something right now is feeling neglected, talking about it with your partner,
Mm,
to see if some shifts can be made, because more than likely there can be,
mhm.
some shifts made. Instead of studying Saturday and Sunday, maybe you can just study on Saturdays. Instead of, like maybe an hour or two longer on Saturday and then having Saturday evening over, I mean, early, but just thinking of a schedule so that all people's needs, can be met somehow.
I love that because you're talking about scheduling and prioritization to be
Mhm.
able to meet those needs,
Yeah, yeah.
which
Anything that you want to accomplish, you have to have a plan, and part of a plan is a schedule, and prioritizing this or that, and um, just thinking ahead, or being organized with the minutes on the clock.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I love that because my wife told me something, man, earlier this week. She says, "Baby, I want to start going to church 3 times a week, right?"
Mhm.
And I said, that is a lot for me to try to put that in place, to try to go to church 3 times a week. But if my wife said it, hey, I'll try.
Mhm.
Let me try. And I,
Especially now if she knows something the rest of us doesn't know, like,
yeah,
is it the
yeah,
end or
yeah. that's that's what she's like. I'm like, wow, I thought I was doing, pretty good, the once a week and stuff like that, man, on Saturday. But I think that we have to have, and what she's saying is, baby, you have so much things that you can give to them, your time, your efforts, that there where there's a lack at, you can actually help out.
Mhm.
You can be there. So they do a food bank of the Rockies, like ministry outreach on Wednesdays, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And I'm like, well, I'm back and forth with clients and stuff like that on Wednesdays, which I think that that's a good time. But maybe I can do that, right?
Yeah.
On Mondays, there's something on Mondays that they got going on. So I say Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Because we go on Saturday. I was like, whoa, boy, she's really trying to demand a lot out of me. So, but it's good. It's good and stuff like that. And I'm thankful for those schedule and prioritization. So hey, if I can be there, I can be there. If I can't, she already knows my heart meant well.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about something. This was something on the rise that I actually seen and kind of ties into this loneliness. Have you heard of this thing called social media infatuation that is going on the rise now?
I don't think I've heard of it, but I can probably guess what it is.
Yeah, so they did an article about
Mhm.
social media infatuation, and then I seen this, and it was startled to me. And what social media infatuation have done, they scroll through all the reels, they scroll through all this stuff that people are posted, and they're envision their lifestyle as everything into that reel, that social
Oh,
media,
wow.
that TikTok, and it has caused so many arguments, battles, relationship issues,
Mhm.
partnerships have dissolved from businesses not thinking that they're scaling, going to the next level. So when I read that, I was like, wow, that is the most alarming thing. But
So are you saying that a person will follow someone's reel and in their mind see that life as their life
as
and
their
then get
own life.
disappointed
Correct. Correct.
in it?
It's called
Wow.
social media infatuation. That
Mhm.
article shocked the heck out of me. But you're realizing that people's lifestyle is actually going on ahead and being portrayed to what everyone else is seeing on the screen, on the click of a phone, click of a
Mhm.
button, going through social media. And they base their judgments off of what they see. Oh, this family's going on vacation. You have to go on vacation.
Oh,
They're
wow.
in the Bahamas and the Maldives. You have to be in the Bahamas or the Maldives.
Oh,
They're
wow.
in a
Wow.
private jet. You better be in a private jet. I mean, they base their lives.
So it's comparison taken to the nth degree.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
wow.
insane, insane.
Mhm.
So that has left people's relationships, partnerships, businesses that thought they were scaling and doing pretty good, being compared to another business that is out there thriving because maybe they got the right marketing, maybe they have the right
Yeah.
budget, maybe they have the right teams that are working around them, but now have lost them and has been dissolved, and they've been having a dissolution behind it. Do you think that now, because we're dealing with this state of social media infatuation, and the girls want what is it called, the BBLs? That's what it is.
Mm-mm. I don't know what that is.
That's the butt breast lift, right? That's
Oh.
what it is, right? That's what it is. Lambo gonna keep it 100. I can't only say it but one way on here, right? So they want the
Mm.
BBLs, and they out there, they're injecting stuff with them and injecting stuff with all of this and losing
Mhm.
weight and all of this other stuff. So they want their bodies to be infatuated with the models that they see or the people that they see on social media. And they become infatuated with their lifestyle, where some of them, I don't know, may have dreams about them. Like, yeah, I was with, this supermodel, and supermodel told me to stop eating the chicken wings, so I stopped eating the chicken and picked up the spinach. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But that has been the cause, they say, in the last 4 years of social media, where more divorces, more breakup, more people have killed themselves
Oh my God.
because of social media infatuation. Yeah, it was something real. I couldn't believe it when I was seeing that. I was just like, I can see how this thing can actually be the trigger for so many people to actually follow that and base their life, where they currently are, on someone else's life, where they're 10 seconds of fame or 15 seconds of a good time, and maybe going through life way worse than they possibly are.
Well, as you're talking about that, it makes me think about maybe 10 years ago. Do you remember when they had this video game? I think it was called The Sims, and you would get an avatar and you'd build a house and
Yep.
you'd have a helicopter. It sounds like that, but taken like into real life, like
Yeah.
they're, because they're actually seeing people on these posts and doing all this stuff. And so it sounds like it's that, taken to the extreme and taken off the screen and into real life. And it to me, it also sounds like an incredible, uh I don't want to say lack of, but it how can you won't be able to be grateful, you won't be able to feel that gratitude of what you have, you won't be able to experience gratitude for your partner, for their contribution to your life, if you're saying, oh, we only went to Disneyland and so went to the Maldives, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I expect to, I mean, that's like, I can see, I'm going to do some research on that and look into that, because that sounds terrible that people would be looking, because you don't know if that's really real. You don't know
Yeah.
if that's true. What you're seeing, the person might be driving this car, but you don't know if they rented that car and is pretending, that you might be comparing yourself to something that's not even real. And even if it is real, a lot of work probably went into that person, unless they're doing something illegal. A lot of work went into that person being able to afford to take their family to the Bahamas or wherever, or to have this house or that car. Like, money doesn't just grow on trees. Like, people have to put in time and effort. Now, if you're investing money in it, then it could grow on virtual trees. But even there's time and effort. People that are,
Yeah.
working that, they're putting a lot of time and a lot of education. They're reading a lot of books. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into building a life. And so, like, when you're looking at that and you're becoming infatuated with that, then don't go to your partner and say, what are you going to do to make this for me? Get out a piece of paper and pen and ask and sketch out how you can make that for you, but it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. Like, this stuff isn't just showing up in people's lives, you know? Yeah.
Well, I looked at that, and I honestly said this. We are in a society right now, and this is truth, right? Where we look at the reality TV shows that are on,
Mhm.
right? We look at social media, which social media calls acceptable. Oh,
Mhm.
this is acceptable.
Mhm.
This is the lifestyle. You've made it. You've arrived. Or whatever the case may be, to actually put a spotlight on something for us that does not seem to be so tangible when people are not in position to go ahead and achieve that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would a person at that point break that mind cycle of like, hey, do we turn off social media? Do they turn off reality TV? What do they do to break that mindset and get focused on their goals?
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of when my youngest daughter was a baby and I was home on maternity leave. And
Mhm.
every day I would be watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah.
And I would finish watching that show and just feel like bad. Like I would feel like I didn't realize that I was comparing myself. And I talked to a girlfriend of mine and she said, Trace, are you feeling jealous? And I was like, yeah, I am feeling jealous. I am feeling, I'm seeing this stuff and wanting that for me. And so like when she helped me to identify what I was really feeling, then I was able to do something about it, like stop watching that show. Like for me, that's what it was. Like I just had to stop watching it because I was really struggling and, sitting there nursing and, by myself all day while my husband was at work and my other daughter was at school and, watching lifestyles of the rich
Yeah.
and just struggling,
Yeah.
and I realized that I was feeling jealousy. So I would say like try to identify what it is you're feeling. It might not always be jealousy, but that's probably one of the top 10. It might be a sense of deprivation.
Mm.
It might be a reminder of like if you grew up not having a lot or grew up poor and it's reminding you of that. So you have to disconnect from that and ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to have? And really not try not to think about houses and cars and trips and stuff, but what are the things that really matter? What are the things that can't, be taken from you, like peace, your identity, the love that you have in your family? Like if you have a great relationship with your spouse, I mean, there is nothing that can top that. Like if you have a great relationship with your kids, like your kids respect you and they honor you and they come to you, like a lot of times I work with empty nesters, people that have launched all their children and are like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And I talk about like the four stages of parenting. And when your kids are an adult, when they're adults, then they should be in the confidant stage where you're their confidant. So like if your kids are coming to you for advice and for direct, like, want to know what you think about what's going on in their life, then you've navigated the other stages well, and so looking at the things that can't be bought, like, I don't mean to sound, like a cliche or anything like that, but there are things in life that you have that you're not attending to because you're watching all of these other halves that people have. And so disconnecting from that, because it really is poison for your brain and for your system. There's nothing wrong with wanting things,
Mhm.
but figure out, what is it that you want that's going to enhance what you already have,
Mm.
starting with being grateful for what you already have. And gratitude could be you talking to God, stating and listing out the things and having the conversation as to why you're grateful for these things. Gratitude can be expressed in a journal, it can be expressed to your partner, your children, but having specific examples of why you feel this gratitude, and then having gratitude for yourself, like for your perseverance through something, or you're getting to the other side of something, or how you take care of your family and how you take care of yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, start taking care of yourself, and then sit down and think about, well, what else do I want and what would it take to get there? Because even if you had everything that the other person had,
Mhm.
your life wouldn't be what you're thinking it would be, because it might not be something that's for you. It may not even be something that you want
Mm.
once you got it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, she just lit that up. Put the fire department in the building for Tracy. Oh my gosh. I really love the way you answered that question. And then you just start speaking about gratitude. I'm really big on gratitude because Steve Harvey, straight up. There's no other way to put it. But that man speaks on more gratitude in his speeches. And I have listened to, I mean, hours. This is an everyday thing of Steve actually talking about gratitude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that has the misconception when we actually are talking about all of these things that people are watching on social
Mhm.
media, on TV, and then they do start feeling that sense of unaccomplished, right? Like, oh man, I'm unaccomplished, or I'm not at that point. Remember, you said I actually had to go ahead and turn the TV off
Yeah.
because of how it was making you feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point, what do you do after you done gave gratitude? You done started writing down your vision, and then that sense of you being the one man gang or the one man band to really try to drive this vision home. or get yourself out. And it may be seem like some people may have a lonely road, that no one's there to help assist them. No one's there to help take care of them. No one's there to help push their vision along so that they can reach to the goals that is obtainable for them. How
Mhm.
do they go through that steps of really allowing themselves to be motivated, even if they may be feeling alone with
Mhm.
their vision and their goals after they finally blocked out all of that stuff from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Well, yeah, one of the things, like, after, so you're saying after you have um, sat down and thought about the things to be grateful for and written
Yep.
it and maybe even communicated, and after you have a plan of, okay, so I want to do this, and this is what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
One good thing that that a person can do is to start looking around their environment
Mhm.
and to see, what is going on in my environment. Are things organized? Are things clean? Are things put away? Because stuff carries energy, and if you have a lot of stuff around you, you can, make a plan, but you're probably not going to feel motivated and inspired to do it. Inspiration starts with a clean slate, and that's like, in all of it, I mean, enactment of the inspiration starts with
Mhm.
a clean slate. So, I mean, it might sound a little trite, but getting organized in your environment, even if it's just the environment where you're going to be implementing this plan,
Mhm.
so like if I wanted to, because I had started writing my second book, but I stepped away from it to do the audio and to do
Mhm.
the workbook. But if I wanted to return to that, and we'll return to it shortly after I'm done with these two things, but how organized am I on my laptop? Like, where are all my files and folders? Like, how organized is my physical desktop? How organized is my environment? And do you have the tools? Do I have the tools
Mhm.
to get started on what it is? Have you spoken with people who have already been where you've been, asking them about the journey so that you can have some ideas of what to expect? I mean, you can't really, whatever they experienced, it won't be your journey exactly, but you can get some idea of what to expect. And depending on what it is, taking that first step, like if it's signing up for a class, sign up for a class. If it's getting a catalog, like on online catalog to see what classes are available, do that. Sign up for classes. If it means you're going to have another job, get your resume together and start making sure that that's ready to go for the day when you start having calls for interviews and
Mhm.
all of that. But just thinking like linearly, like what's next. But start with your environment, get that squared away and straight, and then go from there.
Mm. I think that's an awesome strategy. Were you on the show Tuesday night? Does it sound like you went on ahead and looked back at the show Tuesday night, right?
Mm.
I don't know you did. It's always,
No.
man. But Tracy, the true story Tuesday night, I actually talked about starting a checklist, right? What's on your checklist?
Hmm.
And we started going through what's on your checklist and how to be able to strategize the correct checklist, and then being able to accomplish those tasks on that checklist so that
Yeah.
you can go on ahead and actually get to that destination where
Yeah.
you are desiring to go and where God has showed you. I mean, God gives us all a roadmap, right?
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
doesn't walk it out. He allows us to walk it out and
Yeah.
go through that process. And that's, I think, is so huge for a lot of us who are here.
Yeah, when I used to work in consulting, one of the things, the magical things I learned about a checklist that I still use in my life today, if you make a checklist and you bounce around on it, you'll get fewer things done by the
Mm,
end of your block of work time than if you go one after the other. I don't know what it is about that, but when I used to, because every day I would write a checklist,
yeah.
and when I would go straight down the line at the end of my workday, pretty much the whole checklist would be taken care of. But when I bounced around, allowing myself to get distracted by returning phone calls or emails or whatever, at the end of the day, I would look at the list and it's like 4 or 5 things done, instead of, I don't know what it is, but like going just one after the other. And maybe I do know what it is. Maybe it's because you're being singular in your focus. Like
Mm,
maybe it's because you're not multitasking. You're just getting one thing done at a time. But when you're multitasking, you're being a jack of all trades, master of none. You're just getting pulled in different directions.
Yeah. And do you think that that is a sign maybe of distorted vision, maybe, or maybe
Maybe.
something that is really like, oh, well, they don't like that task and they're trying to choose an easier task before. Because I talked about the checklist of actually having some really hard tasks at the beginning
Mhm.
and lightening the load closer down that checklist, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I listened to a podcast. I don't remember what it was, but it was recently, and the guy was it was a short cast. The
Mhm.
guy was talking about identifying your most productive. Like there's different phases of the day. There's the morning, there's the early afternoon, and there's the later afternoon when you're working. And so
Mhm.
there are things that are administrative. There are things that are creative, and I forget what the third batch of things were. But assigning those things to when you are at your best. So
Mhm.
if you need to be focused and zoned in, and you're better at that early, then maybe do your creative stuff, the stuff that you're creating out of thin air, or things that you're modifying when you've already created it. And then if the early afternoon is a little sluggish, maybe that's when you want to do your administrative stuff,
Yeah.
the boring stuff. I wish I remembered what and maybe the other thing was planning, where you're planning for the next day, or planning, for something else. But that sounds like it's when I heard it, it sounded like a good strategy to me, because it's a way of knowing yourself. I always tell people, know thyself and to thyself be true. I mean, of course, I didn't make that up, but I think that's it's a truism that if you know that you're more clear and crisp in the morning or in the later afternoon, then save your creative time for that. If you know that, you don't have as much brain space in the early afternoon, then save the rote stuff for that, like returning emails or returning phone calls or doing filing, whatever administrative stuff you have going on, so that your vision isn't blurred. Because if there are things that you don't like to do, and they need to be done, you have to find a way around that to get it done. I mean, if you can afford an assistant, maybe your assistant can do some of that stuff that you don't like to do for you.
I think that that's huge, that what you just said, that because I think a lot of us, and you got to give me that one bar one more time again, know thyself, because that's already a tag bar. I'm going to put
Yeah,
somewhere.
know thyself and to thine own self be true. I think I don't know if it's from Aristotle, but if you Google it, it'll
That
tell
sounds
you
like
what
some Aristotle type stuff,
it
not
might,
Tracy.
yeah, it might be two different ones that I've put together, but it might be one as well. But it's one of those old sayings. Yeah. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's a you get the bell for that, man. That one right there really is one of those ones that I actually look at and I'm like, oh my goodness, you dropped a
Mhm.
lot of heat just with just that one little saying, man. So
Yeah,
shout
because
out.
when you know yourself, you can show up, better. It
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense, like, you know, I like to work out in the morning. It doesn't make any sense for me to try to work out in the evening after I've, spoken with 8 people or 7 people about their problems all day. you know Certain kinds of workouts I might be able to do, but I can't, like, go, work up a sweat. And that, for me, that's better in the morning, just because of the way my brain works.
yeah.
And so if you know that there are tasks that you don't like, save them for, a time of day. I mean, if I find that podcast, I'll email it to you, so that,
Yeah,
because it made a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
send that over to Lambo. I'm always big on that and everything, man. You already know what I do best. Shout out to you, cuz. I see you in the building. Shout out to you, Jay Ford. I see you in the building. Shout out to you, Blue Sky, showing love. My baby's definitely laughing. You know why she's laughing, man. Her 3 times a week with church service, man. Fro's in the building. Hi, everyone, man. Thank you, Fro. Julie sends Errol, happy blessed Thursday. Love it, love it. Issa with the fire and love emoji side. I already know he was listening to Tracy and allowing that. I love this. Blue Sky says comparing will bring discontentment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally I don't want to even go here with this one, but I'm gonna go here with this one, right? That's like me trying to go ahead and compare myself to the me when I was 15, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I can actually move around. I was playing basketball, I was doing football, I was doing everything I possibly can. And now, my kids will look up like, Dad, why are you moving really slow out that chair? What's wrong with you? Oh, Daddy's not 15 anymore. You understand? We got some time and some age now, along
Yeah.
with some stuff. So comparing will bring discontentment if we're looking back in that scope or in looking at somebody else's backyard or front yard, by the way.
Yeah.
Blue Sky say last year I struggled with comparing my younger self to my now self. What do you think about that, Tracy?
Well, ask him what does he mean or she means by
Yep.
it.
Uh,
Comparing my younger self to mine.
yeah. I think living in the now, being present is challenging for me sometimes. I have to be intentional about it, is what she
Yeah.
says.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like, how when you meet someone and they're talking about like college all the time or high school, because they liked who they were then and not liking, where they are or who they are now. And it's kind of an unfair comparison because you had different responsibilities. If you're comparing yourself physically like you were doing, then that's unfair because you were younger, more flexible, more spry, and we get older and we have less mobility. So Blue Sky, I would look at what exactly are you comparing? Like, are you comparing your strength or your physicalness, or are you comparing where you were socially, where you were emotionally? Like, what exactly is the younger self, the version of the younger self, and what aspect of the younger self are you comparing? And then do some journaling on that to see, perhaps there's a dream that you had that you forgot about, and you haven't picked up that dream, or you haven't thought about that dream or looked into it. And maybe you can do that, like maybe you can resurrect that dream. But figuring out what exactly from then am I comparing to now,
Hmm.
and then journal about it, maybe go talk to someone about it, a therapist or a life coach, and see what's going on. And because that comparison, in that case, like what you're talking about, it's information that there's something going on. There's a part of you that's trying to tell you something, and so you have to figure out what that is and answer that. There's something that needs to be done or something that needs to be addressed, and it's not going to let you alone until you address it.
Hmm. Shout out to Trace for definitely bringing that clarification. Blue Sky is always coming with it. Icy say wisdom at its finest. Thank you, Miss Tracy.
Thanks, Icy.
Love it, love it, love it. I think that we, when we're doing the show, right, it hits on so many angles, right, and then so many people are be able to relate along with their journey, along with the path, along with the topics that we're actually able to bring forth, and along with the wisdom and the wonderful knowledge that you provide to all of us, Tracy. We truly want to thank you here on the Leverage Show. For every
Mhm.
time you come here, you just bless us with so much knowledge, so much wisdom, and be able to just let it sprout out of you like that's nothing, Lambo. That's easy. That's what I do every day. We thank you for that, Tracy.
Thank
You
you.
know,
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
yeah, you already know what time it is. So listen, let everybody know what we're working on, what you've been working on, in the near future. So the next time we actually see you, we can look forward to something that you literally have in the upcoming things that you're definitely going to do, but also
Mhm.
let people know how they can definitely reach out to you for the ones who don't know who Miss
Mhm.
Tracy Taris is out here.
Okay. Well, can I quickly, before I do that, can I quickly circle back to what some of the things that you can do to combat loneliness?
Oh,
Remember we
go
talked
ahead.
about that?
Go ahead, Miss Tracy.
Yeah.
You go right on ahead.
Well, I mean, the first two are kind of far fetched, but there are people who are doing it, and they're doing this all over the world. But intentional communities, and that's people who decide to make communities and share resources, like an
Mm,
intentional communities. And what that looks like is like somebody might buy. 5-6 acres of land, and then just start putting homes and, like sharing resources of money, and, like some places, or a big building where people intentionally live together that have like the same either political views or religious views or spiritual views, and then communal communities where people buy land and decide to be one big family, like all over the world. There, I remember seeing something on HGTV in Denmark where they had taken a building that was abandoned. Somebody bought it, and then they just made it into one giant house. Like there were quarters where different families can have their own spaces, like their own sleeping quarters and their own living room. But there were also a couple of huge living rooms and a huge kitchen that looks like a restaurant kitchen.
Okay.
And people, different families would take turns each week making giant meals. So there's that. I mean, I don't think there's anything like that in California, but in other states there are things like that. And they can sound kind of weird because communal, when people think communal, they think hippies and kind of people on the outskirts of society. But there are more and more people that are doing that. Like I have a friend of a friend that bought property in Texas, and they're planning on doing that. And I see it sometimes on TikTok where people are buying land and inviting people to come and like live together. But if you don't want to do communal living or intentional living, there's like getting involved in the community. Like if you have a house on the street, you initiate block parties, just bring it back to life. Most urban areas have community centers, but people think community centers are just for kids. But if you go to your community center, you can see that there are, like you can work out. It's much cheaper than a gym. There are, groups and classes that you can take and meet people. There are things that can be done. There's community gardens, finding, places that you can join. In my community, what has resurrected is pickleball. Like a lot of people are getting together playing pickleball like crazy. Different clubs and associations. So like thinking outside the box and looking into what can be done. And if you are experiencing loneliness and you're afraid to go out, more than likely you're suffering from social anxiety, and it might be deeper than that, like agoraphobia. Like if the thought of going out is scary and gives you almost a panic attack, then that might be more agoraphobia. You need to talk with a therapist or someone who specializes in that to heal from it. But if you're thinking, I haven't talked to people in a long time, I might say something dumb, I might say something stupid, or what if I trip? Then that's more social anxiety. Get some help with that, and then get yourself out there, looking into the community. You can volunteer. And of course, church, like most churches have small groups. Like even if it's like a huge church, there are small groups, and small groups are family groups where you do life together. So, loneliness, it doesn't have to be an option. There are things that you can do to put yourself in front of other people, like physically, not just on the screen. And just remember that social media and those social connections, it's connection, but it gives the sense of connection it's not the kind that will have your brain, your mirroring neurons in your brain connecting with another person. It's not the kind that's going to, when you're in the room with someone, you're picking up the energy, like the joy, the happiness, or the irritation, whatever the case may be. So it's not the same, So yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to leave that hanging because you asked me that in the beginning, and you started talking about something else.
I think we cover so much, in this, that when you be like, oh my gosh, I forgot that and stuff like that, but I loved it because you really brought it to a point. Now, there was one more that we didn't touch and everything, man, and that's called, how does somebody from loneliness get out of boring phobia? Just being boring.
Boring?
Boring, very
boring. Well, boring is actually, you need to be bored sometimes, because one of the problems with people being bored is they think of it as negative, but your brain needs that downtime. Just when you
Yeah.
sleep, your brain is sweeping out all of the stimulation that has come into your mind all day long. So some of your dreams, have meaning, and it's your unconscious mind trying to tell you something, or God trying to tell you something. Some people have prophetic dreams, but a lot of the stuff in our dream is just trash
Yeah.
that our mind, our brain is sweeping out and clearing out. And that happens when you're bored. When you're just bored and sitting there, just let yourself be
Yeah.
bored for a few minutes, and then find something to do. Like, like if you've been bored for days and you have nothing to do, look into some of these things that we've mentioned, on the show. Get out into your community, because most communities do. And if your community doesn't, then go to the next community, go to the
Yeah.
next town and see what they've got going on. Where I live, there's a catalog called Seasons, and they
Mhm.
have stuff in there that, you can join other people. They even have trips, like people go up to Sonoma Valley on a
Yeah.
bus, like wine country, and then, do all kinds of different trips together. That might be one long weekend. There's knitting, there's pottery, there's pickleball, there's all kinds of things that you can get. So on the one hand, being bored is necessary for your brain to reset. But
Mm.
on the other hand, if you are, and you have been for days and days and weeks, you have to leave your house
Mm.
and look for something that you can engage in, something that and if you don't want to engage, in volunteer, give your time away somewhere, at those community centers, because those community centers have tutoring. You can go tutor kids, you can go
Mm.
read to kids, you can go to old folks homes, or whatever it's called nowadays. I'm always saying stuff that people don't say anymore. That and read to people, paint the nails of the ladies that are there, and just sit with them. So you don't have to be bored.
There was a gentleman I met yesterday. It's funny you call it old folks home. He was at a senior citizens homes,
Oh,
man.
that's what it's called.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's senior citizens home. So we'll put him out there.
Sorry.
Senior citizens home. So I told him, and shout out to him, because I told him follow me on YouTube and stuff like that. His name is Ralph, and I told him, I said, dude, listen, I'm shouting you out, but you from this point, if I got to go play some checkers with you or some chess with you, I'm gonna
Exactly.
make sure and everything, man, that we stop you from being bored or whatever. He says there's not much to do around here, and I was sitting there looking at him like, dude, there's a lot to do around here. You just got to get yourself out there and get connected, because even in the citizens home, what I noticed, I mean, they literally had full staff, cafeterias. There was people talking. There was a room that was designed like for like arts and crafts that people can actually get into. And the
Mhm.
thing, I was shocked when I walked in that senior citizens home. I was really shocked that nobody was in there wearing masks.
Oh,
And yeah, it was. I was like, man, they like, yo, we some strong troopers in here. Now you caught us a couple years ago. We be in here wearing masks, and it wasn't like this. But them old folks was in there, they was getting it. I say, man, y'all getting it better than some of these people out here getting it. So shout, shout out to the people in the senior citizens homes, in old folks home, as Tracy called it, who is really getting it and stuff like that. And they actually had like dances going on in there, which
yeah.
like music and all of this stuff. I was like,
Mhm.
what?
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
just spruced up in there.
Yeah, because one part of a lot of times those places will have like treatment plans, and part of the treatment plan is fun stuff. Is to keep
Yeah,
people engaged and keep people moving and keep people connected. Because it would be easy for the residents to just resign themselves to their rooms and never come out.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And most of them, which was really weird, had all the room, their doors were open. And you just see people passing, hey Nettie, hey Betty, hey Jeff, hey
Mhm.
Ralph, hey Ann, hey you. And I'm sitting there like, man, this is like one big community. No
Mhm.
one was like roped off in there to themselves, and I was just shocked. When I seen
Mhm.
that, I
That's
was like,
good.
oh, this is totally different than everything that we were coming up. And my grandmother was in a senior living assisted facility. I mean, it was rough. It was rough back home in New Orleans, right? And me walking in there, there was this spot when you walk past the rooms called infectious waste, right?
Mm.
And it's where all the waste or whatever goes from whatever. And I'm telling you what, it smelled like death when you walk past it. And I just remember walking past that thing, that put a smell in me for the rest of my life. Like, I know if there's anything smelling like that, something is wrong in here.
Yeah, yeah.
But to see the people in that facility, they looked like they were almost like hospice, like they were ready to get out of here, right? Compared to the people I seen in the facility yesterday, they looked like they were ready to go to balls and dances and, ready to go do some amazing things. I'm like, man, y'all need to get this program over here, because they were so full of life,
Yeah, yeah.
A really amazing time, man. And we're thankful because this is what the Leverage Show does. We're able to bring that life and bring those tips and tricks that you can actually do to be able to go ahead and adjust yourselves in life or really help somebody else out who may be actually walking through that. And because of your wisdom and guidance, Ms. Tracy, you definitely are helping steer this ship in the right direction. So thank you, Ms. Tracy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You know it, man. Well, look, let the people know how they can follow you and all that other good stuff, man. And say that then to you.
You can follow me at Tracy Taris, TRACY TARIS on Instagram, and also at Healing the Mind and Spirit on Instagram. And my website is tracytaris.com. My book is available on Amazon and other places too. Yeah. And then, hopefully by the next time I come, which will give me a deadline, maybe the book will be ready.
Well, we're excited because we want to make sure that you get that. So tracytaris.com, you guys can go right there. There is a newsletter that they can sign up for on tracytaris.com, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Subscribe to my email mailing list. Yeah. And I don't send emails every week. I, do more like once a quarter. And yeah.
Okay. Well, that once a quarter, they're going to be looking for it at that point. Because you definitely be on this one, Healing the Mind and Spirit, right? On IG. So make sure you guys definitely go follow her on IG. Because, I'm telling you what, she is bringing so much knowledge, so much information, and a little bit of everything, man. And I'm telling you, you really want to be a part of whatever that Ms. Tracy is actually bringing forth to really help you in your life and your journey out to become a more productive one. We're thankful for that. Where can they get the book at? Who has not ordered the book?
Amazon. You can get it on Amazon.
All right. Tell them Amazon. Y'all better go get that book.
Amazon. I'm on TikTok too.
Oh.
It's actually my favorite one. I like doing TikTok.
TikTok Tracy is in the building, man. So TikTok Tracy, is that at Tracy Taris?
I think it's at Tracy Taris. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Y'all hear it. Follow Tracy on Facebook. Follow her on IG. Make sure you guys definitely go to the website at tracytaris.com. Get signed up to that newsletter as well. But definitely go get that book, Healing the Mind and Spirit, as well. And she actually has an IG, Healing the Mind and Spirit on IG as well. And Tracy Taris on TikTok, doing our TikTok dances and everything else out there on TikTok. So we really thank you for that. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Again, really appreciate everything that you bring to the show, everything that you bring to us, and really allowing us to be able to grow as a community together. Truly appreciate you for that, Tracy.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. I enjoy very much coming on to your show, Lambo.
You already know. We're gonna talk about the old folks home and everything else out here. When you're on the Leverage Show, you get a little bit of everything out of here. So that way you can go ahead and enjoy it and really be able to capture these moments and stuff like that we have here. But thankful tonight because you joined us on the last day in February, which is Black History Month.
Oh, yes.
Shout out to that. We couldn't go out with a bigger bang than that with Tracy Taris joining us here on Black History Month and closing out an amazing month, filled with so many great leaders, so many pioneers ahead of us who really paved the way. And we see the future pioneers like Miss Tracy Taris, who is really helping us pave the way in the right direction because of their sacrifice. Thank you, Miss Tracy Taris, for definitely closing us out the right way on the Leverage Show.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go. Let's go. Listen, we love you guys. Make sure you guys, again, stay tapped up with Tracy. Make sure you guys follow her on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You got the email. Grab the book on Amazon. You definitely want to go ahead and making sure that you're helping every part of your life from all the great information and resources that Tracy is actually putting out. Till next time, Tracy will be back on the Leverage Show. We ain't out of message, but we out of time today. And we're going to make sure that we continuously to keep providing you with the best and the most efficient people and guests to this show. We thank you guys tonight for definitely tapping into another edition of the Leverage Show, and definitely Therapy Talks with Tracy on Thursday. We always love that. We thank you so much, you guys. Continue to stay tapped in. Tuesday night and Thursday night, right back here on the Leverage Show, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and also Fridays for Finance Fridays, where Tracy got a chance to tune in on one Finance Friday. Yeah. And there was a great stock tick that I actually put out there that actually made her some money. So, hey, that's what we do best out here on the Leverage Show. So thank you guys. Again, make sure you guys stay tapped in. We cannot wait to make sure you guys come back here and continuously to keep getting some awesome, awesome content. Love you guys. Till next time, it's me, Lambo Drew. It's been my guest to have my host, Tracy Taris. We're out of here. We'll see y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.